Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning to everybody. Imagine that you've gotten lucky and you've gotten admission into one of the Ivy League universities. And as a Pakistani, you can imagine the excitement that goes around and the panic that comes with it regarding the fact that you're traveling to the US maybe for the first time, and there's tons of family members telling you so many things on how you should go, what you should do, what you should pack, how you should dress, what you should be doing. And then finally the day comes when you are flying. And you're flying Emirates, Lahore, Dubai, JFK. And the Lahore-Dubai flight is always very normal. In fact, like we say in Urdu, pata hi nahi chalta ke Pakistan se bahar bhi nikle ki nahi, right? That's how it is. But when you're done with your transit in Dubai and you're about to sort of board the next flight, which is not a security point, you immediately realize that everything has changed. The people around you are different. It's a different culture. People are more sophisticated probably. And as you stand with your boarding pass, waiting to get into the plane, and there are probably 200 passengers behind you, when you present your boarding pass, the guy looks at you and says, "Sir, could you please step aside for a moment and stand on the side?" And whoa, what just happened? He doesn't tell you. So you move aside and you see these 200 people staring at you. And now everybody is going in, till everything is done. And then when everybody is done, the guy walks up to you. So you can imagine the nerves. And in these 5-10 minutes, you've probably regretted so many things about yourself, especially if you look like me, right? So you're probably regretting, what is it that I did which sort of led to this? So he comes up to you and he says that our economy class was full and we had an automatic system upgrade. Here's your new boarding pass. We'll put you in business class, right? And all of a sudden, the excitement is just out of this world. And you think to yourself, wow, right? Because you've gotten a free upgrade. But think about this again. Whether you call this luck, fate, taqdeer, whatever you want to call this, you were destined to get this, so you got it. But what was actually happening? You were being tested in those 10 minutes when you did not know what life had for you, right? And in those 10 minutes, your true character actually reflects who you are, what your belief system is, and how composed and reflective you can be. So my friends, if all of us look back at these small little 5 to 10 minutes moments of mystery and suspense and panic that we go through in life, you will find that most of us tend to fail. Most of us tend to drop our belief systems, drop our values, forget about who we are, and we tend to panic. And at least when I look back at my life, what I recognize is the fact that time does pass by. And eventually we make sense of whatever happens. So somebody said an amazing thing, that basically we never learn through experience. We learn through reflecting on experience. And the problem with us today is this, that we experience so many things, yet we never reflect on that particular experience. We never learn from the broader scheme of things that are going on in life, which is why we all tend to be failures in one sense or the other. So that's something that we have to sort of begin with and try and understand, that we have to pause. Because of this increased notion of materialism around us, we're all obsessed and sort of gathered around by material things. We all tend to sort of be really, really into things, whether that's technology. It's changed so much that back in the day, if you look at a new plant, which you really like, so you would feel it, you would touch it, you would try and get a sense out of it. And now you just Google it, right? All you have to do is take a picture using an app and try and Google what that plant is all about. So you've been devoid of that experience of trying to understand what it is. And because of this, I feel we've stopped being human. So I'll tell you something very interesting. A few years from now, me and my wife and my elder daughter, we just had a daughter back then, who was 3 years old. We were flying from Lahore to Abu Dhabi. My parents live in Abu Dhabi. And we were using one of the local airlines. So those of you who've traveled know what it's like to use a local airline. And all of a sudden, there was extreme turbulence, right? And the plane took a dip, right? Obviously, so everybody got alarmed. And then the plane took a second dip. And that was for a good 3-4 seconds. And everybody on flight started to scream like anything. Allahu Akbar, Takbir, and whatever anybody could remember. I remember my daughter looked at me and said, Baba, mujhe dar lag raha hai. I'm scared. And I said, Bete, Baba ko bhi dar hi lag raha hai, right? So because when the flight was normal, but everybody was still praying and people were in a state of panic. So within 2 minutes, my wife turned to me and very seriously said, Arsalan, can you write down my will? Right? If I die, can you write? So I said, Bete, mera ye jahaz wahin ja raha hai jahan main ja raha hu. So it's the same thing, right? So what just happened? That most of us, if you reflect, are we ready to die today? Have we done what we should have done? So when we're in a state of panic, when we think all is going to end, when we think we cannot handle it, what we realize is this, that there are a lot of incomplete jobs behind us. And actually all we had to do was this, that take a step back from your normal routine, take a step back from what you do usually, and try and make sense of it. That why are you doing it in the first place? Does it have any benefit for you, or especially for the people around you, or for the people that matter in your life? And a lot of times you'll find that the answer is no. You're just in this rat race which actually has no finish line. So you might become number one running fast and fast and fast, but when you are number one, you realize the race is never ending. So we have to sort of take this step back. We have to take this step back. Now, once you do that, another thing that we then have to realize is the fact that most of us then make another mistake. That although we're taking a step back, we're so obsessed with material things that we cannot connect things to the divine creator or to our true source of identity, to who we belong, where do we come from, what is it that we're thinking. So I'll give you an example of this, that I'd been hearing this hadith or saying of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in different words, that this world is trivial, right? It says in Arab, kun fit dunya ka annaka ghareeb, stay in this world as if you're a stranger, kul mata'ud dunya qaleel. So all of these things keep coming to you. And we hear this and we think, yeah, that's fine. So 2013, when I flew to Warwick and I took my family with me, second day, my daughter, who was 2 months old at that time, got extremely unwell. And eventually, the third day, we had to sort of admit her in the Birmingham Children's Hospital, and everybody was panicking back in Pakistan, and people were crying, my mother was crying, my mother-in-law was crying. And that's when I realized, just by taking a 7-hour flight from Lahore to Heathrow, I left behind everything that I had possessed. My contacts, my car, my home, my wealth, and none of that was of use to me. In fact, all that I had at that time was my own character, was my own self, that do I have the strength to now deal with this situation or not? And generally speaking, when we tend to forget this, what we do is this, that we think that more than our character, what matters is the material things around us. And that's what gets us into trouble. In fact, very interestingly, one of my wife's cousins was detected with cancer in the US at the age of 40, which is a very young age, right? And the doctors told them that you don't have more than 6 months to survive. And then, miraculously, he lived for about 7-8 years, but then he eventually passed away, may Allah bless him. So I remember he went through a lot of pain, and I would tell my parents as well. So some years passed by, and my father had come here for a wedding, and the cancer patient was also there, so they met at a wedding, right? And after that wedding, basically, I told my father that, this is the same papa of my wife that I used to talk about. He's struggling with cancer, And, people like us always want to use these incidents to sort of tell, okay, look at how Allah is, and He's sort of, giving you shifa and all this. So, before I could say that to my father, immediately he turned to me and he said, son, you must realize this is what the United States of America is. And I was like, no, this is what God is, right? So it's a perspective of what you're thinking. Do you think that everything is being done by material gains, or do you think that there's something more to it? So we all have to remember that while we must make the best effort in this world, right, we have to rely on a higher creator, and that will come through true reflection. That will come through true reflection. So I want to basically end with giving you one story. which has really helped me. And then I tried it in my daughter, and that will help me more as well. So I'll share that with you, and inshallah, we'll leave you with that. So, when some things change, or when some things have more importance for you, you all tend to be nervous. Just like I think most of the speakers here are nervous, including myself, because we're not used to this sort of a setting. So I started doing one thing, that imagine what is the worst possible thing that can happen on that particular day or on that particular event which holds importance for you. What is the worst possible thing that could happen? I could mess up a talk. I could fail an exam, not to say I want to. I could maybe do something which shouldn't have been done. So what? Right? So what? Think of the worst possible thing and prepare yourself that I'm even willing to go for that. And your heart will be at peace. And it works. So I'll give you this example. Last year I was in Abu Dhabi with my daughter, and I was trying to put her to sleep. She was 6.5 at that time, 6.5 child, right? So we'd opened the window because it was a very nice spring sort of a weather. And she said, Baba, I'm scared. I said, why are you scared? She said, Baba, Mama told me that there are strangers, so I have to stay away from strangers, and there are thieves. So I don't know what Mama had been telling her, right? But that's what we do here now. So she said that I'm scared that somebody will climb up, like if we live on the 17th floor, I think. Somebody's going to climb up, come inside, and get me. And I tried consoling her, but she just was about to cry. So then I asked her, I said, Acha, tell me something. If the thief comes, what will happen? So she thought a bit. This is a 6.5 time. She said, he'll take me. I said, then what will happen? Right? So she was very annoyed. What do you mean she'll take? I said, if he takes you, what do you think he'll do to you? He said, he won't give me food. I said, then what will happen? He said, I'll try. I said, okay, if you'll try, then what will happen? He said, he'll beat me. I said, phir kya hoga? What will happen? Right? So she kept on saying this. I said, okay. I kept saying, what will happen then? So eventually she immediately said that I'll die. Right? I said, so? Then what will happen? So she paused for a bit and said, I think I'll go to paradise. I said, there's your answer. Right? For most of us, the worst thing that can happen to you is that you will lose your life in this world. So then what? I mean, we're already bound to lose it, right? So the issue that we have is this, that we're trying to control and hold on to a thing which does not belong to us in the first place. Ladies and gentlemen, my friends, we fill this auditorium thinking that we've made sense of the world around us, thinking that we're going good in our careers, in our lives, but really, we've not. And all of us must use this moment now, use this opportunity now, to start thinking about life from a different perspective. And that is only for our own self. May Allah bless you all. Jazakumullahu khair.